impulses are being redirected. We are living in an artificially induced state of consciousness that resembles sleep.
Hi, Steve here. I realize that most people are up against the two most formidable enemies of clear thinking, and that is cognitive dissonance and the Stockholm Syndrome. We've been programmed for centuries, and what we believe is mostly what we've been told by those who make money off our backs. And the motivation for them is, and always has been, wealth, power, and control. And if you don't understand that that is fact, you'll never be able to break through to see the truth and the reality of the fraud and total fabrications you've been taught to believe. They teach us what they want us to think and believe, and they never teach us what we need to know. You've heard the saying, the truth is stranger than fiction? So look at all the movies we've watched since we were kids, and then we've seen them being played out in real time in our generation. I don't think about these things constantly, but when I saw the story about the Chinese spy balloon, it brought me back to the reality of what I already know. I've already had people leave comments on my Flat Earth videos and similar videos who said that I've lost all credibility now. Well, I'm sorry for you, but I strongly disagree that I ever had any credibility with you anyway. For those of you who cannot listen to me speak the facts, who are not willing to use your common sense, I will never have credibility. But for those of you who can break through your cognitive dissonance and Stockholm Syndrome feelings, you might have a chance to see the truth. For you, you may wake up now. Keep in mind the old cliche that's very true. If you want to know why and who's behind anything and everything, follow the money. Have you ever seen a satellite with your own eyes? No. You've seen CGI images and artist renderings of what they're calling satellites. But have you ever seen a satellite in the sky? I've seen airplanes. You'd say, no, it's impossible because they're too high for me to see. The origins of satellites came from the mind of famous science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke. He wrote the 1945 proposal by Arthur C. Clarke for geostationary satellite communications. Arthur C. Clarke was a high-level Freemason, as well as a homosexual and self-professed pedophile, and active in Satanism. Arthur C. Clarke was writing science fiction stories along with other notable sci-fi writers Philip K. Dick, Robert Heinlein, and L. Ron Hubbard, the very same founder of the Church of Scientology. There's a 7-year overlap between 1945 to 1952 when Jack Parsons, L. Ron Hubbard, and Arthur C. Clarke were all alive and were witness to the science fiction industry exploding in the eager minds of young people. I find the Roswell crash in July of 1947 quite timely, and it certainly propelled the interest in space to mania levels. Hollywood didn't miss the cue, since they're owned by the Khazarian Rothschilds. Hollywood started cranking out sci-fi movies by the truckload. At the top of the sci-fi movie heap was the great undiscovered frontier, space. The Khazarians saw an opportunity to make a ton of money by pushing the space meme. At some point, the scheme was hatched to fake launch satellites into space for profit. NASA became the tool to constantly remind humans of our insignificance in the boundless cosmic order. NASA has been beating the divinity out of us with pseudoscience, propaganda, and spiritual delineation. In other words, control. NASA had accumulated and assimilated the intellectual property from Jack Parsons to the point where he was no longer needed or wanted. Sputnik 1 was launched first in 1957. Shocking. Fooling the world, and Explorer 1 soon followed in 1958, the year NASA was created. NASA was also created to militarize space and the atmosphere below it. But why? Simple. In order to conceal the deceptions of the Khazarian globalists and their Freemason minions, the Khazarians needed to secure the perimeter and operate above any jurisdiction. All information above our heads, skyward, was now in the hands of NASA as the official source. In other words, the propaganda machine was created. It's laughable when you realize we're solely reliant on just one source for all information regarding the cosmos, NASA. Along with the controlled mass mainstream media, NASA is free to dispense as much CGI, Pixar, Photoshop, fairy tales as fast as we can swallow them up. I guarantee the Satanists of NASA have been laughing a long time about their ruses. However, they're being exposed more than ever as incompetent pseudoscience degenerates when real scrutiny is applied. Interestingly, in 1959, the Antarctic Treaty was signed and is now totally off-limits, backed by military force. The North Pole is also militarized, though no formal multilateral agreement exists. Still, any attempt to travel across either will result in immediate military expulsion and possible jail time. To this day, no human has ever traversed Antarctica. Ever. Think about that for a minute and consider the absurdity of it. There's still a continent, supposedly, that has never been explored, and we're not allowed to access it? Why? Because the reality of knowing the truth of the extreme fraud and lies that Satan's perpetrated through evil and wicked men and women on this earth would shatter the lies and take their power of control from them. Instead of fearing them, we would fear and reverence Almighty God, who created all things. Probably the same reason social media, mainstream media, and the government threaten you now with sundry punishments if you talk about the reality of the jab and how many people are dying daily from it. If this is smacking you too hard in the face of your cognitive dissonance, then I recommend that you read Miguel Stefano's book, Confusion in the Cosmos, Decoding the Deception. And after reading the book, where he lays out the evidence very simply that we've all been lied to from the day we were born, then get back to me and tell me you believe in a spinning ball rotating at 1,038 miles an hour. And when there's no evidence with your physical eyes that this is reality, the satellites are being launched into space just because you see a rocket go up, read this book and you'll get the answers to why these rockets have been being launched. And why did NASA engineers say they can no longer go to the moon? Because they lost that information, that science, the videotapes. By the way, the video interview with those NASA scientists who said that has been removed from YouTube. And the so-called extraterrestrials are not the aliens from light years away that they want you to believe, but they're fallen angels who reside above the earth in the area under the dome that we can see with our own eyes as you look at the night skies and see the billions of stars above us. I know that this is a lot for you to take in, and it may feel like I shot the bulk of fireworks up like at the end of a 4th of July display. But I thought, if I didn't know these things, I would hope someone would tell me, because I don't like to stay ignorant about the truth. You can hear this information and mock it, and you can mock me for telling you. You can wonder about it and question and begin to do your own research and see if it's not true for yourself. But I hope you do at least one thing for me. Think about it.